I need a room for my child. They're like, I need a room for my podcast.
For real.
And my wife makes candles.
Really?
No, I don't got a wife. I'm divorced.
Right.
I'm just saying white people taking over property, but they don't have babies.
Yeah, so they just go ahead and take businesses.
They're having less and less babies, but taking up all the rooms.
Right.
Like, we don't need kids don't need this baby room. I'm going to put a podcast in here. I'm going to make a candle making company. They got all this weird shit going on.
Weird ass stuff, you know, or maybe like a yoga studio, but in the house.
Yeah.
Do it as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can they do tax write-offs here, right? You can make a room into a yoga studio.
Yeah, you can have all kinds of shit.
Yeah, you can make it happen. But
Europe's slick.
Huh?
Europe is slick.
They are very slick. Very peaceful place, though, still.
Oh, man, my hair's growing back. This is like... this is crazy. I feel like a lion that left the jungle and moved into a zoo.
I mean, bro, because you've been traveling like a lot, man. So you've been to like places where it's been very peaceful. Some places are not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been traveling since the pandemic. Like, because when I first got to Europe, I had to make money because America stopped giving me money. And so I had to find what countries and cities were open. Right. And then I'd go and perform comedy there and try to make money. So I got COVID 5 times.
You got COVID 5 times, bro?
Times. Yeah. 4 vaccines, got COVID 5 times.
Oh, so damn.
Because I was going to Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe was still open. Parts of it were still open. So I was there doing shows to try to make money. And then inevitably getting COVID again and again and again. But of course, by the end, it was like nothing.
It was nothing? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
I'd get COVID and I'm like, oh, it's like the sniffles. You know what I mean? Or I'd get a little bit tired for like a couple days, but then it was gone.
Damn, bro. And you had 4 vaccines and then 5 times you got
4 vaccines, got COVID 5 times, yeah.
And what was that?
I got COVID quick. I got COVID in New York. Like, when I got COVID, I was watching on the news going, oh, I think I have that. Like, that's how quick I got it.
Damn, bro. So you probably got like the raw version of it. You
had
like the watered down versions of it. You probably got like the real.
No, I got the OG.
The OG.
It was like cocaine when it first got to America before they added the baby powder. You know what I mean? Before they added the baby laxative.
Yeah, before they stepped on it, it wasn't.
Yeah, man. When I did COVID, I didn't even have to poop. I just got high. That was the pure shit.
You got pure quality.
Yeah, I got
Wuhan.
That's right. I got Narcos COVID.
Narcos COVID.
The package was still in Spanish.
Oh shit, yo, that was that pure shit.
Oh man, it was wild.
Damn, bro.
Yeah.
So you got in New York. Cause New York was a crazy time, especially.
New York was super crazy.
Yeah,
super. New York felt like, I don't know if you knew in New York they had the Citizen app. You remember that app?
Yeah. Oh.
They would tell you when crime was happening around you.
Yeah,
man.
bro.
I had that app for 12 hours. I deleted it immediately.
Right.
Dude, they were just like my app was just dinging all the time, stabbing across the street, shooting down the block. And I lived on Henry Street at the Lower East Side, so I was like out my window was the projects.
Oh.
I was like in between Chinatown, Brooklyn Bridge was right there, but I was in the Lower East Side. And it was just, people were going crazy in New York.
Damn, bro.
Like, here's what I noticed. The noise of the crazy people was eclipsed by the noise of the normal people. But then when the normal people quarantined, the noise of the crazy people was all there was. And then I was like, oh, shit. There are a lot of crazy people in the Lower East Side during the pandemic. It was nuts, man. I heard people fighting all night. I saw a dude get stabbed out my window. It was crazy, man.
You saw somebody get stabbed outside your window?
Dude, I remember the sound the knife made.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Bro.
Yeah. Some dudes were screaming outside, yelling at each other. And then a dude he goes, no, fuck you. And they start screaming. And then I was like, oh my God. And I saw him because he had a knife in his hand. And then it was like a fucking Pulp Fiction scene.
Yeah.
The light from the street light, when he picked up his knife, he raised it just enough till it came out of the shadows and it shined. And then I heard this, dude, it's funny how many violent movies I could watch without even flinching. But when it happens in real life, you're like, oh, that's different. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I got goosebumps from seeing it. And then of course, I called the police. The dude was on the ground, and you could see the blood even from, 50 feet away from an apartment window. You could see the blood, and the dude was like moving his legs. Like, remember NHL hockey when you could beat up one of the hockey players and then they lay on the ground and their legs move like this.
Oh,
it was like that, and I was like, "Get me out of here, man!" It was crazy,
bro. That is why you heard the sound of the knife. I mean, of course, it's traumatizing. That's that's real life sound effects.
Yeah. And then our president was Trump at the time. I'm not getting political, but imagine you hit crazy turbulence, and then the pilot's voice comes on, and it's Trump. He's like, "Hey, everybody, don't be pussies. We're hitting some turbulence. If you're scared, put some bleach in your asshole." Who is flying the USS America? Like that was the pilot of our plane when we hit COVID turbulence.
Yeah,
it was Trump's voice.
That shit was
okay, the plane is still fantastic. This is still a wonderful plane. This is the best plane. And I'm like, dude, put on the co-pilot.
He's like, yeah, get the fuck out the pilot seat. You're not directing this right.
And they couldn't put on the co-pilot because he was hiding in the closet.
Yeah,
it was Pence.
It was so crazy, man. I completely forgot about Pence. That's how crazy that whole presidency was. I forgot about Pence. I was like, oh, I forgot presidents have, they have.
Pence
like
wasn't even real, man. He looked like Pinocchio without the nose. Like,
yeah,
he was not a real boy.
Not at all. We didn't even hear from him really. As soon as like Trump got in, that was wild.
Dude, he was AI before AI was AI. You know what I mean? Like he looked like a character somebody drew. He did not look real. Even that moment when he was on TV debating and a fly just landed on his head and he just sat there. And I was like, this is not real. None of this is real. This is crazy.
Bro, none of it's real. Once that happened, I just realized like, oh, okay, this is just like power dynamics that are happening.
Man.
It's not even about like politics. This is just like pure, okay, this person has a lot of leverage. They use that to get into position.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, even that time, you could like remember. This is way back, not to get political, but we both, we both moved from New York City recently, or lived in New York City. That when he was tweeting and stuff about the whole, like he was tweeting things that were like, oh shit, like it is actually kind of happening, and it sucked, right? Kind of like, oh, people are against like Hillary, and then this, and then not Biden, but what was the name of the other dude with the glasses? Damn, Bernie.
Oh, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Yeah. That whole time, bro, I was watching. I was like, wow, this is like a video game, yo.
Yeah, man.
It's like
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It is like a video game. I was in Queens one time, and a dude with a flamethrower, some drunk dude came out with a flamethrower and started shooting a flamethrower up and down the street. And people were going, some dude lost his mind. And then, of course, the cops came and got him and stuff. But it was like, I'm like, this is like GTA. It's like Grand Theft Auto, but in New York. There was crazy stuff in New York. And now that I've got some distance from it,
yeah,
I feel like I was in a cult. I got out of the cult. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was weird that all of us were having sex with that one lady. You know what I mean? When I was in it, I'm like, yeah, that's Mother Nature. Like, we're all supposed to have sex with her. But it wasn't. That's what New York was like. It was like the craziness became normalized.
Huh. Okay, because I feel the same way, right? As a person who just recently moved from New York City, how long did it take for you to like have that realization, like, oh my God, like that's not normal, whatever you was dealing with in New York City?
I'm still adjusting, man.
Really?
Man, I feel like a rescue animal that just got brought indoors, and I'm like growling at shadows. You know what I mean? They're like, that's a teddy bear, Tamer. That's a teddy bear. That's not a real animal. You need to chill out.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear a noise, I'm like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
Still.
I'm twitchy, man. I'm twitchy. Like you can't. I'm starting to calm down here because life is not as dangerous. I'm not gambling with all my money on every hand. Where in New York, I felt like, because lack of medical insurance, cost of daily life, the ruthlessness of the game when it came to work, all of that was at some point, you got to go down from fifth gear into four.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't use nitrous all the time. And that's what I was using all the time. I was always on fifth gear. My foot was always all the way down on the accelerator pedal. And that's just too much. At some point, your engine's going to smoke. And that's what it felt like in New York. And now I feel like I can calm down. And now I'm writing some of the best stuff I've ever written because I can exhale. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm happy being here. I'm much happier being here.
Yeah, I remember when you first came back to Berlin, and we were talking, you said you felt more at peace and everything when you moved here. But that's interesting you mentioned that you're still dealing with the, I guess, the effects of like living in a city like New York City and like some of the things that went down.
PTAD, man, post-traumatic America disorder. That's what I got. I'm serious, man. It is. I really do feel like I left a cult. Leaving America, for real, for real. I really do feel like I left a cult.
Wow.
Like there was a belief system and a narrowed down view of the world that feels very much like putting blinders on a horse. Right? Where the road is America. Don't look to Europe. Don't look out here. You want to compare America to anything else, compare us to Afghanistan. Don't talk about Scandinavia. That's too close to better. Don't talk about England. That's too close to better. Don't talk about Western Europe. That's too close to better than we are. America was like an abusive boyfriend that told you, you don't need to leave the house. I'll treat you better than anybody else.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's jealous. It's a jealous nation. Like don't talk about any other country. Oh, you like that other country? Then you're a socialist. Oh, you looking at the other man? Then you're gonna cheat on me. It's just like a jealous boyfriend.
Damn, yo.
Like I want a confident boyfriend. The way Europe is. You want to live in Germany? Then cool. You got an EU passport. Go live in Sweden if you want.
Right.
Go live in Switzerland if you want. I'll still be here. And that's the way a relationship should be. Give me my freedom, man.
Right.
Let me live where I want to live, and I'll come back to you if you're right for me. But don't tell me you're the best I ever had, but that I also shouldn't go out and look. I'll tell you if you're the best I ever had.
Damn, yo.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, in America, be trying to give you like fake money, i.e., credit, lines of credit, and be like, yeah, don't worry, no, you get put anything on the card. It's okay,
Yeah,
it's
man.
cool,
Dude. They came to me when I was in college and said, "You want some free money on this plastic card?" Didn't know anything about interest rates or whatnot. I was in debt. After college, I was in debt my first year of college because they gave me credit cards. Dude, they gave me more credit than they would give me now.
Oh, and this is probably during the time when credit cards was like new. It just came out for college students to use.
Man, I was like, I didn't know anything. I was new in school. They took advantage of me fully. Here's the thing that cracks me up. They say they protect us from tobacco companies and say, no, you can't sell these to minors of a certain age. But why is there no limit on banks can tell kids to open up a bank account at any old age? You know what I mean? They can. What's up with that? Like what? You know what I mean? But it's because it's just crazy. It's wild. I feel like everybody that pays politicians are the ones that decide what laws are laws and influences the culture and tells us when you can go after kids and when you can't go after kids. And it's madness, man.
Yeah, interest groups, all of that. Like, I mean,
man.
And it takes like, somebody to travel outside of that to look at it, like from the outside looking in, being like, oh, wow, like, yo, that shit was a really wild, like, situation at that time.
100%. Dude, there's an old black dude named George. I used to live with in Brooklyn. And he used to always sit down and talk to me. I'd have a good relationship with my dad. His kids kind of abandoned him because he was an alcoholic when he was young. Damn. So we kind of adopted each other. Like when you see those videos of like a Labrador that hangs out with a chimp, and they're like, "Oh, we're siblings now." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Give me a ride, George." I'd jump on the Labrador's back, But he would tell me, he would tell me about like, "Are you familiar with the William Lynch letters?" And I'm like, "No, what's that?"
The Willie Lynch, yeah.
That was a slave owner that educated other slave owners on how to keep slaves in line. And his number one thing was focus on their differences, their skin color, their sex, their hair, their hairstyles, anything. Keep them fighting amongst each other so you can maintain control. Even though there's more of them, and that's scary to you, you keep them focused on their differences, and you'll be cool. That's exactly what's happening right now, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, even with Israel and Palestine, everybody's like, oh, Israelis are this, or oh, Arabs are that. And I'm like, both of you are wrong. This isn't about Arabs. If it was about Arabs, then how come there's Arab leaders investing in Netanyahu's future Gaza that he wants to make look like Dubai? If this was about Jews, then how come there are Jews in front of Netanyahu's house protesting and trying to get him out of office? We are all the same. The only us and them is us and politicians. And I feel like they're playing a game that we're not aware of.
Right.
They weaponize our sons and they sexualize our daughters, man.
So with this type of thought, I feel like, and then correct me if I'm wrong or something like that, Dad, like, because I feel like when you're in America, you have like a distorted view of politics and stuff. And then when you start traveling to different countries, you start expanding in ways that you start seeing similarities to where then your views becomes more nuanced, let me say. Like, do you feel like with your stances and stuff, political wise, that it became it changed over time, like as you traveled more and more.
100% more information. You know what I mean? I was given more information. It changed my perspective. And it's like, it's weird, you know, like when I'm in America and we hear about refugees on boats, it's just an image. Now I'm in a bar and I'm sitting next to a dude from Syria who was on a boat that was trying to get to Greece, and they stopped him in the water and put him on a ship and then took him to another part of the ocean and dropped him off so they could get to Turkey. I'm like, I'm meeting refugees now. I'm not watching Ukraine on the news. I'm hanging out with Ukrainians whose homes were bombed. And it's like, it makes the world real. When you watch the world news in Europe, you watch the world news. When you watch the news in America, you're like, here's what's happening in LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at first you'd be like, oh, well, you know, LA is a big place. But it definitely hurts you to not, I think there's a functionality behind that. I don't think it's, oh, Americans are silly or, oh, Americans don't care. I think it's the American government controlling us, and just like a jealous boyfriend saying, don't look out there. You don't need to worry about them. You just worry about here, because our interests are all that matters.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about those other people. You don't need to look at the way they live, because you might think that it's better, and that might make it harder for us, you know, to control you. And I think that's what it is at the end of the day. You keep blinders on people. You make them focus on just themselves. I mean, even after 9/11, man, I've never been to a therapist where I went into the therapist and I said, I just had the most traumatic experience of my life, and had the therapist look at me and said, okay, here's my advice. Never forget. What? What? Your advice after 9/11 is never forget?
That did not happen, bro.
Dude, that's every time we talk about 9/11, that's all they say. Never forget, never forget. Why?
Hold on, you said
you mean never forgive?
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
Oh, I think you're talking about literally like a therapist would.
No, I'm just saying that's what it's like.
Oh, okay,
the message
sorry,
they give the American citizens,
right,
is
okay,
never
okay,
forget.
Yeah,
never forget. But the subtitles is never forgive. Never forgive Arabs. Never forgive. Even though it wasn't Arabs that did that shit. It was some Arab people, but it wasn't one country. It wasn't Iraq, that's for sure. But it's a part of their story. You know what happened when the UK got bombed? Guess what their sentence was?
What?
Always remember. There's a big difference between always remember and never forget.
What's the difference?
Energy, man. Energy. Never forget. Those are fighting words. Always remember. Those are that is like remembrance.
Yeah.
That is humility. There's a calmness to always remember.
More vowels.
Never forget. There's an anger in that energy. And as a comic, words matter. You can almost not say never forget without pointing. Always remember is like, it's like I could hear always remember at a funeral.
Yeah.
I hear never forget at a halftime with a football coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never forget is stimulating angry. Always remember is like, hey, let's not always remember the people that passed away and about what happened. It's a different energy thing. Some people are gonna think I'm silly, but you know, just like in California, there's only one word for snow, but in Alaska, there's 200 words for snow. I'm a comedian, right? So for me, words fucking matter.
Right.
So an average person might be like, oh, what's the difference between always remember and never forget? To them, wine is just white and red. But to me, I can taste the oak. I can taste the berry. I can tell you what kind of soil it came from. I can tell you what the weather was like when that grape grew, because I'm a comic. Words matter to me. And I know what those words mean. You know what I mean? Words matter. And they give a signal. Like when I was a kid and they had like anti-drug campaign. They put a word in there that was so filthy.
What was the word?
They didn't say, the campaign wasn't say no. It was just say no. Just say no. That means, how little do you think of people that are addicted to drugs? You so stupid. Just say no. That word just was so offensive. It's so hateful.
Yeah.
To say to someone who's addicted. It's saying, it's easy, stupid. Just say no. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not say no. It's not ask for help. It's just say no. Just say no, stupid.
Damn,
you
bro.
know what I'm saying?
I never really thought about it like that.
They don't want us to think about it like that.
Yeah.
Because words disappear after a while. We hear diesel jeans, we forget that diesel means a truck or diesel means fuel. It starts to seep into our consciousness. But when you stop and pause for a second, you go, why they put just say no?
Right.
That's insulting to the people who this is an addiction. This is an illness. This is like people who are desperate trying to get rid of pain. And they go, just say no, stupid.
Okay, I'm curious now, right? Because for anyone who doesn't know, you're a comedian, right? You've been doing comedy for a long time. International, also in America, L.A., New York City, Midwest, probably everywhere.
Yeah.
But what did you do before? Because if I feel like something, because the way you looking at words and like the way it's positioned,
a writer, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that I mean, look, you give the credit for you being a comedian, but that is deeper. I feel like than that. Like for you to be paying attention to like the symbolism of words and how they're constructed.
Oh, for sure, man. It matters.
Like what you do before comedy that, I'm curious.
I worked in advertising.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a writer in advertising.
Yeah, because the way you constructing, all right, that makes sense now.
But it makes sense, right? It's almost like if you become a nutritionist, food isn't just food. Food is energy. It's not a hamburger. It's this much protein, it's this much carbs, it's this much fat, it's this much good, it's this much bad. But if you're a person, it's just food. And I think that's the way I look at words. Other people are like, it's just a word. But to me, I'm like, it's this much good, it's this much bad. It's this much protein and nutrition, and it's this much garbage. And some of this I'm allergic to.
Right.
There's gluten. Gluten, and the way gluten makes you react isn't just in food, it's in words. It makes people feel sick. It makes people feel ill. You know what I mean? The way they control people. The way they call immigrants alien. Alien? What you mean, not human? Like, you don't think there's some thought behind that? Calling us not human? The first thing you say when you say alien, when I hear, is not human. And then you wonder how they can watch people get killed and children get killed and brown people and people of color or anybody with an accent get treated like, you're an alien. You're not human.
Yeah, them words really
matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. They want to break our empathy. But like human beings from the jump, we are pack animals. The only way we survived, the dinosaurs and all that other crazy shit, is by working together. So we are soft wired to be empathetic to each other. When you yawn, I yawn. If I walk past a group of people and they're laughing, I start laughing and then I go, what's so funny? If I'm full and you're eating, I get hungry.
Damn,
we're pack animals. We're meant to be together.
Yeah.
But the only way they can control us, William Lynch letters. What he used to tell me that blew my mind is he said slavery is a spectrum. Slavery is a spectrum. He goes, the house slaves were so free compared to the field slaves that they thought they were free. Because their lives were so much better than the slaves in the field. But if they looked in the mirror, they'd be like, I'm not free. And that's us. We're not free. You want to be free? Then quit your day job. Just hang out with your kids. Watch what happens. Stop paying your taxes. Watch what happens.
Go ahead.
Watch what happens.
Take the house.
The modern day version of a whip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a slave planet. And all these politicians are slave owners. The only us and them is us and politicians. That's it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's scary, man, because we have artificial intelligence, but we don't have artificial wisdom. They don't want us to have that.
Artificial wisdom.
They don't want us to have that.
Wow. Hold on. So I want to get, because I think the advertising part is an interesting one, because I didn't know you worked in advertisement before comedy. And how long you worked in advertising?
18 years.
18 years. Okay, so you was in there for a minute. So you probably seen some ill shit.
Sure.
And you probably had your hand in some ill shit too. Like,
I mean,
not some ill shit, but like on some, because when you work for corporate, you're gonna do some things that might be like on the back end. You be like,
It's funny, you know what? It's almost like an assembly line. If you're working on rims, sometimes you can't describe imagine what the car is gonna look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was in an assembly line. My job was creativity. And I wrote words, I wrote ideas. My job was to connect with people and have people, have language that makes sense and have it not be corporate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure. I look at the effect of advertising, the way I look at like the effect of, overdoing certain things. I think the excesses cause damage. But for the most part, I was lucky. I worked at a phenomenal advertising agency called Shy Day. And it was the most creatively awarded ad agency in the world.
Nice.
Like we had Apple, Nissan, Gatorade, the Olympics, Visa, Snapple, like just big brands, and brands that kind of people liked, people cared about. I didn't mess with B2B, business to business. I didn't mess with. I was business to consumer. So in terms of like some of that subliminal stuff, I didn't know anything about that. I never saw any of that.
Because maybe that went further down the line once you just came up with the creative stuff and that was it.
Maybe. As far as I know, I mean, people were using creativity to be, to to connect with people and to help the corporations learn how to speak to people. There is a part of me though that thinks, like this guy asked me one time, he's like, I have a friend who's a social psychologist, and he said, one of our other friends said, hey, how come human beings devastate the planet and no other species devastates the planet?
Mm-hmm.
He said, because when the shark became an alpha predator, the ecosystem created dolphins to be more aggressive towards sharks, so the shark wouldn't wipe out the ecosystem. If a shark starts attacking too many fish, a dolphin will punch it in the stomach.
Mm.
If a lion gets too aggressive, then a rhino will attack a lion to chill it out.
Mm.
He goes, but human beings were never top of the food chain. We were middle of the food chain. But then we invented fire, and that was like steroids. And then from fire, we invented weapons and tools, and then we went top of the food chain. But we're not a confident leader. Like a lion is confident. A lion will gobble you up, and then it'll just lay down and relax. I'll eat when I'm ready to eat. But human beings, we're not confident, because even the toughest MMA dude will get beat up by a teenage chimp. You know what I mean?
True.
We're just like, ooh, the toughest human. You're like the toughest chihuahua compared to all the other species. We are weak. We are a weak species.
Strength-wise, yeah.
So we are top of the food chain with none of the confidence. And that makes us a dangerous leader. You know what I mean? That makes us a dangerous leader. Like, it's scary.
Damn, bro. Shit. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious with this type of talk, right? Because, like, here in Europe, right? Like, when it comes to, certain, I don't know, exposures to different cultures and things, that you sometimes find conversations that are like, how I'm trying to put this? Like me as an American now moving here to Europe, there's so many different like conflicts that have happened in Europe and stuff that date back like centuries and centuries, and like you start seeing certain patterns and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of curious, like because you lived in Europe before, now you finally moving to Berlin, right? You lived in Europe for how long?
Yeah, I lived in Sweden before for like 4 years. I lived in England for a few years. I was always bouncing around a little bit.
Okay, so you had that
Spain, Portugal.
Okay, so you had that like kind of a sort of hazing as an American. Like, I mean, you was born in Egypt, but you lived in America for most of your life. That you had thoughts about what the world was, and then being exposed to different cultures in Europe and stuff. Maybe like kind of, I don't know, because that's what happened for me. Like as an American coming out here, that some of the thoughts that I had were just kind of just like either challenged or just beaten out of me. Kind of like, I assumed this was to be, and it was like, nah, it's not. And you kind of like, oh shit, word? I thought the whole time it was this.
Yeah, man. It's a wild thing. But it's a good thing. It means you're evolving as a human being. And realistically, even though the way that we're living now seems foreign to regular people, that's the way we're supposed to live. We weren't supposed to sit still and stay in one place. That didn't happen until we invented farming. We were hunter-gatherers. We would travel, and when it got cold, we'd move to a place that was warm. And when the food ran out here, we'd move to a place that had food over there. We wouldn't sit still. So the way we're living now is more organic, more natural to the way human beings are supposed to live. And I think when you sit still, you have, it's like if you look at the number 7 over here, but then you move around over there, all of a sudden it looks like an L. Now it's a letter instead of a number.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to live life. The way to live life is to like look at it from all these different perspectives. I mean, I don't know why we're alive or why we're on this planet, but I know one thing's for sure. It's not to sit still.
Yeah, that's true. Because people get depressed when they sit still, not moving forward towards somewhere, a destination or a path or something.
Man. I look at the planet like an escape room.
Like an escape room?
Yeah.
What you mean by that?
I'm running around looking for clues. You know what I mean? Like I like living in different countries. I like seeing the way people live and kind of Frankensteining together my perspective of the world.
Right.
Like that's if you're in an escape room and you try to figure it out all by yourself, you're going to be stuck in that room for a long time. But if you're on one side of the escape room and you got a cat on the other side of the escape room, goes, oh, you know what? This candle moves. Like, oh, cool. You know what? That stick fits in that hole, and that square fits in that box. And then if we work together, we help each other, and then we can get out of that room and get to the next level. And I feel like that's what they don't want us to do now. They don't want us to work together. They're playing a whole other game in terms of controlling us.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about Europe is like looking at other people and hearing what their perspective is like, and how they look at the world, and experiencing different lifestyles. Like I've found by being here, but I enjoy this more than the lifestyle I had in America. I enjoy the life I have here more. And,
What was the one part of the European lifestyle that really spoke to you, that you was like, wow, I didn't know, like it just spoke to you, like European lifestyle?
Well, the one thing the one thing I like is I become comfortable being uncomfortable. And what I realized is that in New York, I was on autopilot. I could go through half my day, and then you ask me what I had for breakfast, I'd be like, I don't remember, because I wasn't giving it my full attention. I can't even buy chips over here without giving my full attention. I got to focus on what the coins look like. And I think that's the best thing for creativity, is to be an adult, have an adult's mind, but the eyes of a child. I look at the pigeons here. I'm like, look how different the pigeons look.
Yeah.
The crows look like they're wearing little gray vests.
Yeah,
That's
they
cute.
do.
But I don't notice the pigeons. If you asked me about the pigeons in New York, I couldn't tell you the detail. If you asked me about the pigeons here, I could, because my eyes have changed. I'm new here. And I'm new here, but my brain's evolved. And I think that's like one of the greatest things in the world, is to push yourself into new situations all the time. And it makes you, especially as an artist, it keeps you fresh and keeps you looking at things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about the lifestyle here in general, I see people argue without throwing hands. I see people disagreeing and then going about their way. And it's not as extreme. Life is, they are living their lives and paying their bills. True, it's not as easy as it used to be, but it's still, the only time I can bitch about Berlin, or people can bitch about Berlin, is when they compare Berlin now to Berlin then. But compare Berlin now to another city, you ain't got an argument.
Oh, we talking about Berlin? What's the argument that they have?
People will say Berlin was cooler 10 years ago. And I don't want to hear that argument, because you're arguing with me about time. I can't do anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell me that Berlin's not cool? Tell me what city's better.
I mean, then again, that's like almost like New York City. How people be like, oh, New York City back in the day was like, it was more lit. And
it's supposed to. So it's supposed to change.
Yeah,
it's supposed to change, and you can't control that anyway. The thing I love about Berlin is it's the youngest city in the world. No one thinks about that. It was reborn in 1989. Berlin had a change in its gender identity the same way. The new Berlin is just as much the old Berlin as Caitlyn Jenner is Bruce Jenner. The new Berlin has nothing in common with the old Berlin. It's fresh. Yeah. It's Woman of the Year. You know what I mean? Right. That's what I like about Berlin. You walk around Italy and you see Rome. Oh, that's what the Romans did. You walk around Berlin now, this clay is wet. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing this. That's a totally different thing than almost any other place in the world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, like, I like that this city is a little bit wild. Sometimes when I watch a dog listen too much, always do what it's told, it makes me a little bit sad.
Really?
When I watch a cat bite, it makes me a little bit happy.
Oh,
because it kept its wildness.
Yeah.
It still has its soul. Every once in a while, that cat might bite you, because that cat's still wild. Even though it's living in your house, even though you call it your cat, you're still a little bit, you got some respect for that cat. Berlin's a cat. Berlin is like, yeah, that's a pretty lake over there, and there's some, there's some pretty trees and some pretty streams, and this European lifestyle, but it's still wild. Amazon's gonna build a building just like it would any other city, but watch how much it gets vandalized.
Bro.
This city is still wild.
Bro. You a fucking artist for real, yo. I'm just sitting here being like, yo. And you, man, it's still early in the day. No drinks, nothing. Like you this is you sober, talking like this.
Man, I gotta have thoughts with these gold teeth. They don't just give you gold teeth. You gotta have some shit to say.
You don't give gold teeth to squares.
You don't give gold teeth to squares. You think I'm going to walk up and say, I want some gold teeth? They're like, what's your favorite pastime? I'm like, playing GTA. They're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yo.
You don't get gold teeth when you don't got nothing to say?
That is hilarious. Fair enough.
This is a trophy for the shit that comes out my mouth. That's what it is.
You got first place in talking about conspiracies in an artistic way. Oh shit, that's a gold medal. and talking.
No, I'll tell you, it's the silver lining of being a weird kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was an only child, and my dad didn't like me, and my mom did, and so I spent a lot of time by myself. You know, and sometimes and boredom, our boredom is under attack all the time. You know what I mean? Like all the time, there's new ways for them to get our attention, have our faces glued to the screen. Talk about advertising. When I started advertising, they used to have this unit of measure called share of wallet. What percentage of their wallet can we get? Like Procter and Gamble would be like, what share of wallet do we have? Oh, we have 4%. How do we get it to 6% next year? You know what the new unit of measure is? What? Share of mind.
Share of mind. Because the attention, right?
They want to control our mind, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's they want to control our mind now. So like, I have a 3-hour block in my day from 12 to 3, where on my calendar it says "be bored," and I just sit.
Where'd you get that from?
Rick Rubin has this book called The Creative Act. Dope book, and it's all about creativity. I do not chase the algorithm anymore, but I know a lot of people, like comics in general, they'll be like, everything is, how do I get more stage time? How do I get more stage time? How do I get my stage time? They're getting on stage. But I'm like, when are you stopping and thinking, what do I want to say on stage? Right? Like if a manager came up to you and said, hey, you made me laugh. Now put all your jokes together. What's the story you're telling? I think a lot of people would struggle to answer. What are you trying to say? They'd be like, I'm funny. Okay, you're funny, but what are you trying to say? If comedy is a Trojan horse, what are the soldiers waiting to do when they come inside the drawbridge? What do they want to do? And I think a lot of people don't have an answer.
Yeah, I think it takes a while too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you've been in the game for how long?
13 years.
13 years? Yeah, so that's enough.
That's true.
Yeah, that's enough time to be like, all right, you going through the valleys of like,
learn the
what
rules
the hell?
and then break the rules, but you definitely have to learn the rules first.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's such a young scene here too. That
for sure.
It's
not so young anymore, but yeah, it can be compared to New York.
True. I guess it's more like I guess young in the sense of that you're noticing some things. Maybe it's new for me because I'm noticing some things for the first time outside of myself and being like, oh shit, I know where this person's at, yo. This is crazy. Like you watching in real time, like, oh, I went through this, yo. This is crazy. All right, you'll get through the other end of it, maybe, but like, I know where you at. Or you see certain things happen in the scene, you like, oh, I remember when that happened in New York. Oh, I know how that's gonna play out.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
shit.
Wild, right?
Yeah, you be like, wow. You start laughing at yourself. You be like, they be like, I don't know why is this happening. You be like, oh, but I do, yo. Yeah. He's like, this is what happens.
Yeah. Especially, we're all the same. I thought about this the other day. I saw a crackhead. There's a lot of drug addicts in my neighborhood. I live in Kreuzberg.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of drug addicts on my street. And I saw this dude walking past me, speed walking, just like, going like this. And I'm like, oh, man. And I started noticing how I was feeling watching him. And I'm like, why do I feel what he feels? Why is his anxiety triggering my anxiety? Like, I'm like, oh, crack. And then I went, oh, crack makes him feel the same way it does when I got to pee. And I get to my front door, and my body's like, okay, you can pee now. But I'm like, wait, body, I still got to get the key in that little hole. You can't let loose yet. You can't. So now I'm like walking up and down with my feet, trying to get the key in the hole. I'm like, that's how he feels. That's how he feels right now. Like the way he's moving around with his anxiety, where his brain is disagreeing with his body. That's how I felt when my body was like, just pee. And my brain is like, let me get this in the hole first.
Wow.
Let me use these minor skills. What do they call that? Motor skills.
Motor skills.
Let me use these motor skills to get this little ass key in that little ass hole while my body's just going, release. You know what I mean? That tension right there, that moment is how he feels all the time. And I went, wow, that's exhausting. That must be exhausting. And I remember feeling like, wow, I really feel for that guy.
Damn,
you know what I mean? And it's like that's us. That's a beautiful thing about being a human being, is that you can watch someone that you think is so different than you, or society makes you think is so different than you, by saying things like, just say no. Just say no wasn't a message to drug addicts. Just say no was a message to us. It wasn't for them to get well. It was for us to think less of them. Bro. Why don't they just say no? You know what I mean? It was a bullshit message.
Man, you probably have a legendary therapist, bro.
I do.
Because the way you even break it down, I'm like, yo, this dude has went through therapy and committed to it.
I did go to therapy. Yeah, I mean, I did go to therapy, and it's I think everybody should go to therapy.
Oh, for a fact,
everybody should go to therapy. But it's funny, you know, like all the stuff that I hated when I was a kid is all the stuff I'm grateful for now. Because shit makes the best flowers. You know what I mean? Like the stinkiest shit makes the prettiest flowers.
At what point in your life, or what moment do you remember that you realized the things you went through in your childhood really, you know, was a positive thing? Not positive, but it really helped you out or something.
I think it was a self-love. Like I'll tell you a crazy story. I was on a podcast one time, and sometimes when they ask you a question enough times, you finally tell the truth. Right. And they kept asking me this, who made you funny? Who made you funny? Who made you funny? And this one time I was tired, and I just went with my dad, and they're like, oh, is your dad funny? And I'm like, nah, he hit me. And they're like, oh, you know, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's what made me funny. My dad was an ex-boxer, and one time he was going to wake up, but the alarm clock didn't wake him up, so I shook him awake, and reflex, he punched me. And I ended up and then he went up and went to work, and I looked in the mirror, and I had a black eye. So I'm like, shit. So I went in the bathroom, I got my mom's makeup, and I went to cover up my eye with her foundation. But I didn't do a good job.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, you're not.
So I went to school, and these kids are like, hey, look at that immigrant kid. He's wearing makeup. He's gay. And then they punch me in the other eye. And then I had 2 black eyes. And I remember walking home from school, being exactly halfway, and going, I don't want to go there, and I don't want to go there. And I just stood there, and I went, this is my life. And I just started laughing. And it made me go, laughter is that thing you do when you can no longer cry. And I was just tired of crying. I was tired of crying. I was sick of it. I was tired. It was so unfair that it made me laugh. You know what I mean? And then when I got old enough, I realized that my dad was a victim too. You know what I mean? Like my dad was abused too. And the guy that abused my dad was like a vampire, and he bit my dad. Turned my dad into a vampire, and then my dad bit me. And then I had to go to therapy so I could be like one of the vampires on Twilight. Like I can have a girlfriend.
Yeah,
it's safe.
Yeah, she knows I'm a vampire, but I'm not gonna bite her.
I might bite your wrist, but I'll stop. I'll stop before you turn. I can live somewhere cloudy, like Seattle or Berlin.
Well, at least you're transparent. That's growth, right?
Yeah, and I think that was it. And I think it was a day where I looked in the mirror and said, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. And I didn't know that my dad had gone through tough times too, but I knew I wanted to break that cycle. You know what I mean? He didn't have the good fortune of being able to go to therapy. He didn't have, or coming from a culture where they thought it was okay, and I did. So I had a choice. Either repeat what he did and stay an angry person, and by being an angry person, I would be exactly like him. Or, you know, listen to my mom. You know, my mom was loving, my dad was not. So it was almost like I was on American Idol, and all I cared about was Simon's opinion, which was always negative, instead of Paula Abdul's opinion, which was always positive. The guy whose opinions are always negative are the ones you want to hear positive from the most. And that's what it was like. My dad was the Simon Cowell of my life, who would always say negative shit, and I was just waiting for him to say, you're going to Hollywood. You know what I mean? But he never did. And so I was like, why am I looking for his approval then? And his approval's broken. And I'm getting all this love from her, but I was ignoring her opinion because it was almost too much love for me to accept. I didn't want to accept it. And then when I finally got to the point where I'm like, I don't deserve this. I need to go to therapy. Then I started being able to accept my mom's love, and the people that showed me love in my life, I was able to accept the love from them, and I was able to stop being attracted to the people that were mean to me because I was chasing people that were like my dad to validate. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Damn, bro.
But you can reprogram that shit. That's the beautiful thing about being a human being is like being a human being is like being a Honda, and a therapist is like being a Japanese dude. I can change the spoiler, the rims, the muffler. You could change it all, man. We could customize this shit.
Bro. Oh man. So that was a lot there, man. I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, thank you for sharing that, right? Because
sure.
I think also too, part of, cause you know, you're a third culture kid, right? Like in terms of growing up in different cultures, right? And like living in America as an immigrant, that you have these things that are unsolved, like these traumas and things in which that it's hard for you to process unless you go to therapy, or it takes time.
Yeah.
To even even realize that your parents went through some trauma of their own
100.
that kind of carry over to the trauma they're inflicting on you.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, have you and your father ever came to some, I don't know, closure or something about that?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, believe it or not, the silver lining of cancer is it made him see his own mortality. And then, like, the last few months of his life, he was like, he softened. You know what I mean? And then so he became a kinder, gentler version of himself. And we got to talk about some things, not all things, because I was like, this is not a good time to bring up some of the heavy shit. But it was good enough for me to look him in the eye and say, I love you, and for him to say, I love you too. You know what I mean? Which was like, he'd never said that to me my whole life until he was like on his deathbed. And then he was, you want to hear the most fucked up thing to show you how dangerous not going to therapy is. It's so funny that people think going to therapy is so awful, but not going to therapy is way more awful. So my mom confronted my dad and she goes, why don't you ever tell your son you love him? And he goes, I do. She goes, no, you don't tell him. He goes, no, but I do love him. She goes, then why don't you tell him? And one time, she'd asked him this again and again and again. And just like I said before, if you ask the same question, sometimes you're going to tell the truth. And he finally told the truth. And he goes, when I was 15 years old, my dad died. And it devastated me. It broke his heart when his dad died. He was really close to his dad. His dad was his world. And that's why my mom was so confused. But then his dad died when he was 15, and it broke his heart. So he goes, I didn't want Tamer to ever have heartache like that, so I never wanted to get close to him. And my mom was like, what? That is the craziest, most backwards way of thinking. You're never going to get close to him because you don't want his heart to break when you die? But that was his. Wow. And you can't question rationale like that because that was his psychosis. That was his traumatic response to him losing his dad at an early age. So you can't judge it. You know what I mean? And so it was me. I had to go to therapy to make me better and make him better. You know what I mean? And this is the weirdest thing. I have a better relationship with my dad now than when he was alive. The longer he's been dead, the better our relationship gets because I'm able to process it. So we're getting closer, even though he's physically gone longer. Damn. You know what I mean? You can change. You could still change the relationship with someone even if they died.
Damn, that's deep, bro.
No, you know.
Yeah, I'm
a scuba diver.
Yeah, I mean, you diving, bro. Damn. Yeah, that's deep, man. And like, I guess maybe deep for me because, like, you know, I lost my father, like, you know, almost around that same age or whatever. So I can imagine, you know, that like carrying it over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's very, very, very deep, man. So your background is I know you're half Egyptian.
Egyptian, yeah.
The full like.
Well, I'm Egyptian and Greek.
Egyptian and Greek, okay.
And a little tiny bit French.
Okay, tiny bit of French.
Muslim dad, Jewish mom.
Yes,
Greek Orthodox grandma. So Muslim, Jewish, Christian, all in one house.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it was wild.
So I mean, that's man. I mean, for the Jewish and Muslim part, that's like very conflicting in itself.
People say that, yeah.
I mean, how'd you deal with that? You know.
I mean, I didn't have to because my parents loved each other, and love trumps religion, if you think right. You know what I mean? Love is love. They loved each other. They didn't care about religion. You know what I mean? What they cared about most was being in love. And they loved each other. They were kind to each other, and that's all that mattered to them. And neither of them were like really religious people. You know what I mean? So they didn't care. My mom was happy to meet a good man, and my dad was happy to meet a good woman. And my mom is just like, my mom is incredible. But she's my hero from the time I was a kid till now. She's still my hero. So my dad made a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, y'all even had a podcast with your mom.
Yeah,
right?
We did. We had a podcast.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah,
and she got more famous than me.
Really?
Man, I felt like Johnny Carson if Ed McMahon got more famous. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
She became everybody's mom.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't mind at all. I loved it.
That is nice, bro.
Yeah. She's a good person.
Wow. So with that, right? And that's dope to hear that the love like triumphed all, right? Like, because you know sometimes, especially those two cultures, can be very combative.
100%. Well, religion in general, man.
Religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the more known historically or so like that. But
I told this joke the other day.
What's up?
It's not really a joke, but it was an idea that I'm going to take into a joke. Which one of my friends was like, how do you feel about religions? You have a Muslim dad and a Jewish mom. And I go, look, I think that the concept of God is a beautiful concept, and I don't care if it's real or if it's not real. If it gives people peace, God be with you, or Allah be with you, or whatever. You can believe what you want to believe, and it makes you feel better. I'm not one who's going to come up and say Santa Claus ain't real. You know what I mean? If it makes your December more lovely, then you believe in that fat man in a red suit. And if it makes your life on earth more lovely, then you believe in what you want to believe. I'm not going to take that away. But what I will say is it's dangerous. I think religion should come with a list of side effects and a list of warnings, just like drugs do, right? Like, and I told my friend, there was a great experiment conducted that proved that religion is more dangerous than crime. He goes, what? Hundreds of years ago in England took a big group of its most religious people and sent them to America. And then they took another group of rapists, thieves, and murderers and sent them to Australia. The most dangerous thing in America is sending your kids to school and then possibly not coming home. And the most dangerous thing in Australia is spiders. But America was started by people who were too religious for England.
Yeah.
And Australia was started by people who were too criminally minded for England. And Australia is a much safer place now. Much safer place. And there's something to be... There are experiments that happen on this planet without us controlling the experiment. And you could look at it and be like, there's something to be learned from that. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said from that. You know, and it's like, we started out right with separating church and state. And now this is not the way the founding fathers wanted America to be.
Yeah, I mean, shit, if anything, it became something maybe not self-fulfilling, but in terms of separating it to it being very difficult, almost close to impossible. You know, of people's beliefs, because it goes so deep, and it has such not incestuous. That sounds like a bad word, but more of a deep, like, spiritual. Yeah, and it's hard to remove to separate spirit from intellect and to emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that's the problem when certain religions tell you not to think. They tell you and to believe with the faith of a child. It's like, no. Why?
Right. But it makes it easy for people, right? Because then you don't have to think. It's just by your spirit. So spirit is based on feeling.
Yeah.
To think is difficult.
Thinking is difficult. Well, thinking makes it confusing. But life is confusing because we don't have an answer. Yeah. We don't know why we're here. Even the greatest religions in the world, at best, is a guess. That's what religion is. Religion is a guess. I think this is why we're here. Mm-hmm. I hope this is why we're here. But you don't know for sure. If you did, then if Christianity was 100% right and you were born in China, would you still be a Christian or would you be a Buddhist? If Buddha was 100% right,
true.
Then if you were born in Africa, why wouldn't you be a Buddhist? You know what I mean?
Right.
It really is depending on where you're born. 99.9% of the time, where you're born dictates what religion you are. Mm-hmm. It also dictates what God looks like. Jesus in America looks white. How'd that happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Buddha looks Asian. I don't know what's going on in India, but like another. But you know what I mean? Like, everybody's God kind of looks like them, acts like them, thinks like them, so they can see themselves in their God. Mm-hmm. Because I worked in advertising, right? I remember one time we were doing these commercials for Yamaha motorcycles, and they were going, what guy do we put on the motorcycle? If we put a dude with blonde hair, it'll make people with black hair feel excluded. If we put a dude with black hair, it'll make people with blonde hair feel excluded. What color hair? Then we go, put on a helmet. Then you don't know. Then everyone can see themselves on that motorcycle. Everyone can imagine themselves on that motorcycle. When you're going to buy a house, the first thing the realtor tells you to do is remove the pictures of yourself so people can imagine themselves living in that home. So what did Islam do, the newest religion? You can't see what God looks like. Put a helmet on him. Take the pictures out so you can imagine yourself in that heaven. Every religion is like a new update on the iPhone. Let's make it thinner and thinner and thinner and smarter and smarter and smarter. And more sticky, and all of a sudden you're more addicted to that phone. It gets close, and I think Islam is the newest. So now you don't have to see what God looks like. He's got a helmet on. He looks like you. Period. And it's and I look at Santa Claus. Santa Claus and Jesus Christ have too much in common for my taste. You know what I mean? Way too much in common. When you're a kid, how do they control your behavior? Come November, December, you better be good. November, December, Christmas is coming, and when you're old, death is coming. You better be good, right? He knows when you're asleep. He knows when you're awake. He knows who's been good. Who knows who's been bad. You could send him a letter to ask for what you want, or you could pray. That's an email, right? He knows everything. How do we know Jesus isn't Santa Claus, but he gained some weight and got old? You know what I mean? And started dressing different. Jesus comes back every December. He's just addicted to milk and cookies. It's just too similar that Santa Claus as a device was used to make children behave. How can we not look at Jesus as a device to make adults behave?
Bro, okay. This is interesting, right? Because I'm for it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious, right? With the way you look at the world and stuff, right?
Yeah.
How does it affect your relations with other people?
I'm lonely, man.
I would imagine, bro. Because
No, I don't mean anything in an offensive way at all.
No,
You
but
know
the
what
way
I mean?
you think is like immediately challenges like to have a conversation with you. Like for me, I'm all for it. But to have a conversation with you, you gotta think.
Sure.
I can't have a conversation with you and zone out. Like
No.
Because you're going to say some things that's going to be extremely thought provoking to be like, all right, whoa, hold on, wait. I thought this was just how things work. Let me actually.
I mean, we could smoke weed and we could talk about bubble gum.
Oh, bro, I'm nervous. You do that, I might change my whole ethnicity if I smoke weed and talk to you. I'm nervous.
No, you know what? I think I got lucky. Like, you know, when a crab loses its shell, hermit crab loses its shell, it starts walking around in a daisy cup as its new shell. Hermit crabs do that. That's why they call them a hermit. They find new homes. Right. You see a hermit crab walking around inside a Coke can or inside a daisy cup or inside or whatever. It loses its shell. It finds another shell. I lost my dad, so I found these old black men in my neighborhood. And you know that old saying, if I only knew then what I know now. They taught me now what they knew. So I feel like I downloaded their software and I listened to them because I didn't have a dad. So I was so open to receiving because my dad wasn't around, and they were so open to giving because their kids had left. And so we had this great relationship where they had all this wisdom to give and I had all this love to receive. And it was, so I feel like, I don't know what it feels like to be a man trapped in a woman's body, but I know what it feels like to be an Egyptian trapped in an old black man's body. You know what I mean? Or an old black man trapped in an Egyptian kid's body. That's what I feel like, you know. I feel lucky that I got to meet with those dudes.
Yeah.
You know? And they would say crazy things to me. They're like, why do you think we have more access to intelligence than any other time in history, but we're doing dumber and dumber things? He's like, you have the whole world, all the answers in your pocket in that phone. Why do you think we do dumber and dumber things? And I go, I don't know. He's like, because old people are the least represented people online. And old people have wisdom. So we have intelligence but no wisdom. He's like, but brands want young people to be on TV all the time because young people make dumb decisions when they buy things. You tell a young person this brand of mayonnaise will make you cool, young people are like, yeah, Miracle Whip. You tell that to an old person, he's like, I'll take that one that's 10 cents cheaper. I've been on this planet for a while. You're not fooling me. So they keep those cats off TV. They keep them off the commercials. He's, but do you know how much better the world would be if there were more old people on TV for us to learn from? Good old people to learn from. He's all, imagine Maury Povich. You are the father. He's like, good, I'm ready. I've always wanted a family and I'm financially prepared for one. The world's only dramatic because we got the camera on the beginners.
Oh shit, that is crazy.
That's why. That's why the world feels like it's so full of drama. They only put the cameras on the beginners.
Wow.
And the beginners, of course, are going to make mistakes. And then when they do put it on old people, they put it on the busted old people that never took the time to fix themselves. But is there wisdom out there? Fuck yeah. Before Google existed, there was another Google. It was called Grandpa. That dude existed. But our connection with them is being lost because now instead of calling Grandpa saying, hey, how do I change a carburetor? Now you Google it. And Grandpa's not getting a phone call anymore.
Yeah, he's in a nursing home.
That's right.
Being tended by,
That's right.
nurses.
And he's deteriorating because instead of being able to speak to his grandkids or have a relationship with his grandkids or being to evolve, right? When a grandfather helped a kid learn how to change his oil, the kid also spoke to the grandfather about how, hey, you know what? The world is changing. I have a gay friend now, and he's a good person, and they should have rights. Young people were learning from old people. Old people were learning from young. But now that Google has taken over what grandpa's job used to be, not only is the kids suffering for not learning how to change the oil, but the old people are suffering for not getting the new software update from their grandkids. So it's like the internet is breaking us because we're using it irresponsibly.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into how much information we have and what we are not able to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of distracts us from many different things.
Yeah.
But
I'm still hopeful though, because it's like, it's still new.
Yeah.
If you think about it in the scope of the world, the internet, social media, all that shit, it's only been around 25 years, whatever. When we invented fire, it's not like 25 years later we were searing sashimi. You know, we were accidentally lighting our houses on fire. We were burning our wives alive. You know what I mean? We didn't know how to use fire properly. And the way we use it now to make creme brulee. You know, back then you were accidentally lighting your house on fire. And I feel like that's what the internet is now. The internet now is what fire used to be. Yeah. Where we're like, oh, we're cooking chicken, but we accidentally burned down a village.
That's a fact.
And that's what we're doing now. We're trying to cook chicken and burning down villages and connections between grandparents and their children and connections between men and women and the people who are in power. That's exactly what they want, because the things that are burning down is the things that connect us.
Yeah, and I think also to add to it that social media, internet and stuff is just like a form of leverage. Yeah. In that it takes a person that has enough resources to know how to leverage a tool that's leverageable. Yeah. And if you're not in that position, it makes it difficult. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you had like some weird crowbar or some shit like that, right? But you're not in a position to know how to use a crowbar. You're gonna be like, yo, what the fuck is it? This look like a hammer. I could use like a hammer, but it got like a pointy top, so you might actually break the wood that you're trying to hit the nail through the hammer, the wood with or something. Yeah. And to your point of like it's new, I think it's just like having the time, which is the only resource everyone has to like understand the impacts. But the people at the top, they have money, so they can leverage other people's time or intellect to know how to use this more effectively. And then 9 times out of 10, it's going to probably be against people.
Oh, 100%. That's what George used to tell me. He goes, you know what the worst drug is in the world? I go, heroin. He goes, nope. And I'm like, what? He goes, power. And I'm like, he's all, every person that's in politics right now is high. And we're letting high people fly a plane called the Earth. Is being flown by people who are high. He's all, look at the way they act. They act like they're high, like they're on cocaine. They don't care about other people's feelings. They don't care about other people's lives. They want more and more power. It's like, how are you going to be a billionaire? And you're like, I want to keep making more money. Yeah. Why? Go hang out with your family.
Power corrupts.
Go on vacation. Why do you want more power? How many billions of dollars do you need? Take a break. Go to the beach. Get a tan. You know what I mean? These cats are doing nothing but work, makes them work more, makes them work more, makes them work more. What's the point? To what end? Yeah. And it's just like people who are addicted to cocaine or heroin. It's just more of the same. And it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's never enough. And then, we look at them and don't realize that power is a drug. It's a drug, and the people that are in charge of us are high.
Yeah. Power in a hedonic system. 100%. Because it's never going to stop. We're all hedonists to some extent.
For sure.
But then it's like hedonists in what game? I think that's probably the most important. Because, to that question too, like, why stop? It's kind of like, like again, like we live in Europe right now, right? So like that in itself is like, yo, people be like, yo, you got it. We're good.
Game changing.
Yeah, you good. Yeah, what? Yeah. Croissants cost how much? Like it's cheap. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. You can live forever. But like, no, I want to.
We're like the squirrels that learn to fly. We're like those gliders. Like, what? How do you do that? I'm like, well, I moved to Europe.
Yeah, it's like, I get my good croissants and my good broth.
Drinking my gay water. Water with bubbles.
Yeah, provided by me.
This ain't water. This is water.
Yeah, happy Pride Month.
Gay water. That's what my friend said. He goes, you drink that gay water out there? I'm like, what's gay water? He's all, it's got bubbles, man. Americans are such homophobes, man. I had a dude from one of my friends from England was at a barbecue at my house. Right. And this dude is macho, boxer and shit. And he was there with his beautiful girlfriend. Mm-hmm. My friend walks in the kitchen. His name's Jay. And Jay goes, hey, man, your friend Aaron out there, he's gay, right? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, what makes you think he's gay? He's all, he's gay. And I'm like, dude, first of all, that's his girlfriend out there. I've known him for years. But why does it matter that he's gay? He's like, dude, he was eating a hamburger And he goes, man, this sandwich is gorgeous. And I'm like, what? He's a no straight dude uses the word gorgeous. I'm like, dude, you are stupid.
Is this a black dude or?
Yeah. Why you gotta be racist, man?
No, I'm just saying, bro. Because even for me too, when you said it, I was kind of like, yeah. Like I had to override some things in my brain to understand.
It's not like he said this hot dog is sexy. That's different.
Yeah. Yeah, but somebody say gorgeous, you be like,
people are crazy,
man. That's what's up. All right, you know, I can see that. Yeah, man, but it's good talking to you.
It's so funny, man. Like in Egypt, men will hold hands but call you gay for wearing red.
Yeah,
But not only hold hands, they'll hold pinkies. Walk down the street holding pinkies. And they go, oh, look at that dude wearing a red shirt. He gay.
Wow.
And I'm like, you guys are stupid.
When last time you been back?
The revolution. I went during the Egyptian revolution.
You went during
tattooed on my arm. The 11th day of February 2011. Must.
Whoa, you went during the
I
revolution?
performed during the revolution for the protesters, yeah.
Whoa.
It was rough.
How was that experience, man?
Life-changing. Because I went back to a country that I remembered, from being a child. And I went back during the revolution. And it was just like, there were still, buildings were blacked out from fires. I had a Chinese friend with me in a taxi cab with his camera out taking pictures. And the driver's like, dude, please tell him to put that camera away. People are going to smash the window and steal the camera. Like it was desperate times. And we were going around doing comedy. And it was a fucked up situation. I had this dude at the end of my show, I was on last, and then I was backstage, and the guy started talking to me like, oh, you need to come back for this other thing we're doing. We'd love to have you back. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. And then we heard fighting outside. We went outside. There's this little Arab man like pointing at the younger comics that put on the whole show. And I go, yo, and I'm protective over them. I was like a big brother. And I go, yo. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he goes, Tamer. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I know you. And I'm like, what? And he reaches in his pocket, pulls out a picture, and goes like that. And it was a black and white picture of my dad and me as a child. And he goes, I'm Ahmed. I'm friends with your dad. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I came to see you. I'm like, why are you yelling at them? He's like, because what they're doing is haram. I'm like, what's haram? I'm like, then why aren't you yelling at me? He's like, because they know better. You got raised in America, but they know better. I'm like, okay. I'm like, explain it to me. What is haram? What are we talking about that we shouldn't talk about? He's all culture. And I'm like, that's too big, man. That's too big. You can't tell us that we can't talk about culture. That's crazy. But this was a dude that I knew from when I was a kid.
How did he find you?
Well, there were flyers. Saying
okay.
Tamer, and our last name is kind of unusual in Egypt. So he knew it was me. He knew it was me that was coming. And he came to like say hi, but then he got worked up. And I remember looking at him going, I don't remember you being like this. You were a cool, regular dude, smoked cigarettes, drank whiskey, was just a lively dude. But what had happened is he got cancer. And when he got cancer, he got real religious. You know what I mean? And when you get real religious, you want to go to God. And just like when you're a kid, it's December, you want that toy. I'm going to follow the rules tight. And that's what he did. He became real religious because he knew it was the December of his life. And, and he was going to meet God soon. So he wanted to show God, I'm with you now. You know what I mean? And was taking it out on us. So it was bittersweet, man. It was like, it was cool to go. The graffiti still gives me goosebumps. There's graffiti on the wall that were like women crying, holding caskets, and like soldiers, Egyptian soldiers shooting Egyptian people. That shit still, I have pictures of it. I'll show you on my phone later.
Yeah.
There's just like, oof. The picture, when a woman cries, it from pain, the image of that face, the expression on the face, and they got it in the graffiti, man. When they painted these murals of the pain that was around the city was just devastating. Egypt was going through all kinds of turmoil.
Yeah.
So it was really, really a wild time to be there. I liked being there because I wanted to see it, and I feel a connection to Egyptian people. Mm-hmm. But then when I got there, I realized that they don't feel a connection to me. Like they look at me as like, you're not one of us anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because of you?
Because I grew up in America.
Yeah. Do you speak the language?
I speak Arabic, but I speak Arabic with like an American accent. I was in Egypt one time, and we're at this big restaurant in a hotel, And I said, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. My uncle goes, oh, I'll come with you. And I'm like, well, what you mean you come with me? I'll go to the bathroom. He's like, but it's a big hotel. The bathroom's hard to get to. I'm like, well, I'll ask somebody. If I get lost, I'll ask. He's like, okay. So I said, all right. So I'm walking. Inevitably, I get lost. So I go up to this dude. I'm like, hey, excuse me, do you know where the bathroom is? Or that's what I think I said in Arabic. And the dude just starts smiling like big. Yeah. You go this way. You make a. I'm like, why are you laughing like that?
Yeah.
And he's like, where are you from? I'm from Egypt. He's like, no, where are you from? And I go, I'm from the U.S. And he's all, yeah, I could tell you're from the U.S. He's all, but you're Egyptian originally? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, wow. And I'm like, well, wait, why are you laughing? He's like, you wanted to say, where's the bathroom? Now he's speaking to me in English. I'm like, yeah, I thought I was saying, where's the bathroom? He goes, you didn't say that. I'm like, what'd I say? He's like, you said, excuse me, I have to go pee-pee. Because I left Egypt when I was 6. So my vocabulary is that of a 6-year-old. So I think I'm like this adult, bald-headed, tattooed dude going, excuse me, where can I go pee-pee? It was just silliness like that, like little things like that, where they look at you like you're an alien, you know?
Yo, that is mind blowing.
Yeah, man.
So your Arabic is at the level to where you left the country.
It.
Wow.
My Arabic language is a time capsule. Even my slang is the slang from the 80s. Even the stuff that I say, everything I say makes them laugh. It's like, people look at their younger self, they remember their childhoods, and they see a younger version of themselves. I look at my childhood, and I remember the person I used to be. I was a different person. The way I looked at the world was different. My viewpoint of the world was different. I was in Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I look back on that, I was like, oh, that's who I used to be. That's a time capsule of what I was. Like a dude that was in jail and came out in bell bottoms and platform shoes going, hey, what's up, society? And they're like, why are you dressed like that? Oh, I've been away. Oh, I've been away all this time, you know?
I mean, so with Arabic, like, do you speak it with other, like, your family members?
Yeah, but it's funny because, like, your language is limited. You know, like one of my cousins went to the FBI, and he was in this anti-terrorism thing. And then he was going to take an Arabic test, and he was like, cool, well, this will be easy for me. He failed. And he was like, I can't believe I failed the test. I'm like, why'd you fail the test? He said, because all the language that was on the test was hateful language. They were using, like, language the terrorists were using in phone conversations. And I don't know hateful words. I know loving words from the conversations we had with family. I don't know these evil, hateful words the way these cats use. So he failed his Arab test because there's subcategories within language.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you leave it and you're not speaking it every day or watching it on TV every day. You know what I mean? The language that I know is is just a skeleton. Mm-hmm. It's like a buried skeleton. There's no meat on it anymore. Oh, I know the basics.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is some real...
It's wild, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, most people don't think about that when it comes to language. It's like we assume that once you know it, then you just know it. But there's so many layers with it.
Yeah. Riding a camel's not like riding a bike. When you fall off, you get spit on.
Yeah, just, you know. Wow, that is, and then from what I understand, the Arabic spoken in Egypt is like the one that everyone recognizes, like the most recognizable.
Because the movies, yeah.
So
we saw a lot of Jews in Egypt, so Egypt became the Hollywood of Africa.
Really?
Yeah. All the Arabic movies came out of Egypt. There were a lot of Jews there before Israel was a state, and they taught them how to make film.
Wow.
And they were a big part of the film industry.
Yeah, I mean everyone. Yeah.
So everybody understands Egyptian Arabic, but I have a real hard time understanding Arabic from other places. Because in Saudi Arabia, they speak what they call Quranic Arabic, Arabic from the Quran. I don't understand that Arabic. But if you're a Saudi from Jeddah, which is closer to Egypt, they sound more Egyptian. Lebanese, I can understand.
Moroccan probably definitely not. Yeah.
Moroccan's tough.
Yeah, that one I hear.
Tunisian's tough. But Syrian I can understand. But it's like every fourth word. But they can understand me. You know?
Ah, okay. And do you speak it because you live in a nearby an Arabic majority?
I live near Neukölln.
Yeah, Neukölln. Do you speak it when you?
Yeah. And they trip out. They always look at me funny.
Wow, because I mean, you definitely have a look of not, I mean, well, the mustache kind of now.
Yeah, the mustache. Turkish people think I'm Turkish, but Arabs don't think I'm Arab. Even with the mustache, they don't think I'm Arab.
Wow,
it's a trip. Yeah.
So when you speak it with confidence, they're kind of like, "Whoa."
Yeah, but they still hear the accent.
I mean, yeah.
So they'll look at me. They'll be like, they'll kind of stare at me a little too long.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And stares from different countries is always a different type of stare. It's always like too long and like kind of looking at you. Like you have to eventually be like, what? Like,
yeah.
What's up?
They look at me the way I look at DMs from real pretty girls. I'm like, you're not real.
You like, how many followers?
Are you a bot?
Yeah. You like, how many followers? I don't know. Yeah, really? Yeah, only 3 posts, really?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, this doesn't work out.
Yeah, I had them come to me one time and go, "Oh, your Arabic's really good." I'm like, "Thank you."
Oh my gosh,
I am Arab. Yeah, they talk to me like I learned it.
Yeah, that must be annoying.
It's weird. I don't mind.
Yeah,
because there's a truth to it. I get it that I don't speak Arabic the way they speak Arabic, and I get that they look at us like we are whitewashed. It's a phrase they told me to my face. I did not appreciate it, but I understood it. I mean, I know Arabs here who are telling me stories about boats. They're refugees. They were on boats from Syria trying to get into Greece and then being stopped in the ocean and pushed back and sent to Turkey. Like, these are cats that I drink with, hang out with, do comedy with.
Yeah.
Where that was just shit I saw on TV before. Now these are real human beings staring me in my eye and using Arabic language every fourth word, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, and there's a guilt there sometimes, where you go, I'm lucky for the life that I have. I accept the insulting language. I accept that they sound whitewashed because I'm lucky enough to have the life that I have. So who am I to give him shit for calling me whitewash when he's telling me he was on a boat in the middle of the ocean, trying to pursue happiness, just like the founding fathers of America did. You know what I mean?
Damn, bro.
They are more like the founding fathers than anybody who was born in America.
Yeah.
George Washington, the most famous picture of George Washington, him on a boat.
Right.
Just like a refugee. A rowboat at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, some real...
George Washington looked like a Somali pirate in that picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, worse. Shit.
Yeah, those are immigrants, man. When those cats came from America, guess what they had? Accents, man. Accents. They did not sound like, how y'all doing? They didn't sound like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't have cowboy hats on. They had wooden teeth, wigs like women.
Yeah.
Our transgender president with his turkey teeth. On a boat like a refugee.
Yeah. America was very progressive in the beginning, huh?
Yeah, man. Curly hair and wigs, dressing like a lady with pedal pusher pants.
Yeah, there you go.
And wearing pantyhose.
And then they started to get conservative.
Yeah, now they're like, oh, man, did they met George Washington today or Jesus today? They'd pick on him.
Yeah. That is shit. All right, so I got one more, right?
Sure.
And this is actually how I kind of, to be honest, I don't know where we met. We met in New York somewhere.
I think we met in New York at a mic.
I think at a mic or something. I don't know how, but we just been connected.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic is where I got more connected, but mostly through your story. And I think we talked about this. I got mostly connected through you of your experience with a person that you're dating or you're married to or so. And you were like, this is during COVID time. You guys are trying to and I was following the story because it's kind of like, was like some novella shit. Like I was like, oh, wow, man, you get detained in Spain somewhere.
Yeah,
you trying to meet up with that.
They put me in jail.
They put you in jail?
Yeah, maybe spent the night in jail, yeah.
In jail? I mean, so the question I had for that, man, was just overall with that period of time, like where was your mind at? Like what made you to kind of...
I've always been like an optimist, and they never say in America that like the goal of America gave me something good. I wasn't made in America, but I'm definitely made of America, in the sense that I pursue happiness, right? And so for me, I was always focused on my pursuit. America's not the land of happiness; it's where you pursue happiness. So that means the pursuit is bigger than the end goal. And so for me, I was always about the pursuit. So if I focused on how I was living, with the mattress on the ground and not knowing where my next paycheck was coming from, I think I would have been depressed. But I was focused on a bigger thing. I was chasing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so that's what I did. I just kept chasing hoping COVID would end soon, hoping that I could get back the life that I had, in New York, where I was paying for everything with comedy. And I knew that I could get there again. It was just a matter of like, just use the right fuel. You know what I mean? My fuel was love. I love doing this. I care about comedy. I think it's an important art form. I think it's a great way to make people think and change people's minds and make them even just empathetic to what another human being might feel like. You know what I mean? And so that I tried to stay focused on that. Like, I read Terry Crews's book, and he said, don't bring sport energy into art. Sport is, I want to be the best. Art is, I want to be the only. Right? He's like, that's a very different energy. I want to be the best. You're always looking over your shoulder, and there's jealousy.
Right.
He got what I want. She took what I want. With art, it's like, good for them. They found themselves. Now I'm looking for myself. That actually inspires me to look deeper inside. Do you know what I mean? So I was trying to stay focused on the art, because when the business made me thirsty, the art let me drink. So I was like, it didn't matter that COVID was happening, because that affected the business. It didn't matter that my paychecks were stopping in America, because that was the business. What mattered is that from 12 to 3 every day, I got to be bored, and I got to write, and I had things that I had strong feelings about. I didn't try to make something funnier. I tried to write about things that I was passionate about, things I had opinions on, things that I felt were wrong in the world, and there was plenty of that. You know what I mean? We live in interesting times. If there's anything else, we live in interesting times. And it's like, so that's, I feel like comedy now is more important than ever, the way music during the Vietnam War was more important than ever. Mm-hmm. So that's what I stayed focused on. I stayed focused on the art to get me through the lack of business at the time. It didn't work out with the marriage, and I think that's okay. Like I hope she has a happy life, and I'm happier now than ever. I met like the most amazing woman, and so now I'm happier than ever. But my whole thing was staying focused on the art. Every time I get depressed, that's what I focus on.
And that's some real shit, man. And thank you very much for sharing
Absolutely.
that. I mean, I didn't want to, but I think it's just important because the what was happening all throughout the world, and then you expressing that you was relying on comedy as your main source thing. Yeah. It was just like a lot. It must have been a lot to deal with. So that's important. Yeah. So thank you very much for sharing that. It sounds like you're a real artist. Not sound like you sound like you're a fucking real artist, man.
Oh,
Based
cheers,
on this whole
man.
entire conversation. Yeah.
Thank you.
This shit has been a therapeutic, because every time I talk
Dude,
to
so
you,
are you.
Huh?
So are you.
Oh,
You're
well,
a real artist as well. I mean that's, you are. Seriously, that's what we're doing out here. We're living an unusual lifestyle. My therapist said this thing I'll never forget.
What?
He said he couldn't come to my shows when I was living in LA because he was my therapist. But when I was moving to New York, he said, I can come to a show because we're ending our relationship, and I finally can come to your show. I want to come to your show. So I said, great. He came to my show. He got a little bit drunk. And here's what he said about comedy that I loved. He got a little bit drunk, and he goes, I think I understand comedy now. Tell me. And he's all, Hunter S. Thompson? And I say, he goes, Hunter S. Thompson said, I don't believe the truth is ever told between the hours of 9 and 5. He's on the 9 to 5 is just a symbol. It's not about the time necessarily. It's about what that time represents. What the time represents is corporate life, corporate responsibility, the average person's life. Your 9 to 5 is your day where you have responsibilities, you have bills. You can't say what you want to say because of those responsibilities and bills. You can't do what you want to do because you have an HR department looking at you. You even got to wear a tie that kind of looks like a leash. You know what I mean? He's also, the ties don't make sense. It's just why? It's weird, right? But until you look at a dog, you're like, oh, I know what it is now. He's also, that audience, he's all, but dogs come from wolves, right? He's all, that audience was domesticated dogs. Right. That audience was dogs that have a roof over their heads, they got clean water, they have good food, and they're happy like that, and they chose that life. But every once in a while, they miss being a wolf. And then you go up on stage, and your fur's a little fucked up, and you got a little bald spot, and they could tell that your mattress is on the floor, and you might eat a dead squirrel every once in a while, but those domesticated dogs are like, man, it's fun to watch him run. Yeah. It's fun to watch him still be wild. He's on, that's what comedy is. It's the wildness. It's the wildness. That's why that's why sometimes you get sad when a dog listens too much, and you get happy when a cat still bites. The comics up on that stage were the dogs that might still bite. We still might bite. And that's beautiful. It's to remind people that they come from wildness. They come from us. That's why it's important to say the things that we're not supposed to say and to do the things that we're not supposed to do. Not to hurt people, but to remind people that you don't have to always wear that leash. You can take that leash off. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of comedy to me, is to remind people when they say sit, you don't always got to sit. You know what I mean?
Bro, you know what? As you're saying all this, right? This sounds like a motivational speech.
Oh, shit.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I'm like, no one
For comedians?
Yeah, I mean, for real. Because like I'm just thinking about it. Because even when we first met, when you came out here to Berlin, like finding your place and everything, like even when we had the discussion,
yeah,
like that talk really grounded me back into art. Because you know,
right on.
Coming out here to Europe, especially with like, you know, it's the Wild West, producing shows and stuff, that you always just kind of mentality of like, business, you know, money to be made, X, Y, and Z. But then you just always talked about the art. And I really appreciate that, especially from like a comedic standpoint. Because, you know, sometimes you get so riled up in the, you know, the social media, the this and that, and not going back to like, yo, but just what are your views on the world? Like, just let's talk. Like, just even this whole conversation we had, it was just really just appreciative because we just flowing and just thoughts and ideas and how we're looking at the world and laughing about stupid shit. You know, just art. Yeah. From a comedic standpoint.
100%.
So I always appreciate that, man.
Thank you, man.
But yeah, I don't know if you got anything else you want to say or so. I know, you know, you got a lot of things to do.
Well, speaking of the art, I started a new project.
Yeah.
Where I made friends with these jazz musicians. And we started doing adding jazz to comedy. Like, and it's sick, dude. I'll show you a video when we're done. And they're called Los Drongos. It's these one guy's from Australia, one guy's from New Zealand. And I'm taking my jokes, going on stage and telling the joke to jazz music, and then they're using the jazz music to elevate the joke and paint a picture. So when I talk about something dangerous in the joke, they play scary music. When I talk about heartbreak, they change the music, and it's working, man. It's working. So it's hot. And on August 28th, I'm doing my solo show. I'm gonna tape a solo at Cosmic with Los Drongos. And so if anybody wants to come to that show, get tickets. Tickets are already selling.
Oh my God,
yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Damn, yo, you meant to be here in Europe, man. You meant to be here.
I love
bro.
it here. I love it here. We're meant to be everywhere. We're meant to be everywhere. We're meant to keep moving.
Right, but I mean that jazz stuff right there. This is a perfect place for that to like.
I agree.
Yeah,
there's a lot of artists in our audience. And then that's one thing I learned about Berlin. There's more artists in a Berlin audience than there are in any other audience. I get approached here by graffiti artists. I did a joke about Donald Trump. I said if Donald Trump was the head of Nike, they'd change their slogan to "Just say you did it," right? And then this graffiti artist was like, "I like that tag." He made an upside down Nike swoosh out of orange hair and wrote "Just say you did it" and started tagging buildings. And I'm like, man, that gave me goosebumps, dude.
Oh, my God, bro.
And I love that kind of collaboration. I love that there's cross-pollination like that, the way it used to happen in New York with Andy Warhol and Basquiat in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that with the Idea Factory. Like, that can happen here, but we need to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Clay's still wet because this city was born in 89.
Yeah, and here we are, artists, just molding it in a way that we see fit.
We have more power than we realize. We just haven't used it yet, you know.
Damn, bro. Yeah. This is a very good talk, man.
Right on.
I'm pretty sure when I clip this up, there's going to be some motivational speeches in here. I'll put that little eerie background.
That's funny.
Like, yeah, man, as artists, man, it's got to do, you know. But, bro, thank you very much, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
It's fun to finally do it.
Before we end, if you could just, like, say a quick snippet of, like, just who you are, like, your background, who you are, because I realized within an hour some change.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. My name is Tamer Kattan. I'm a full-time comedian, writer, and actor. And I guess now I could say a little bit of a musician, too. Yeah. Living in Berlin, loving Berlin.
Nice. All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, forever who's watching, listening to the Third Culture Talk podcast, I want to say thank you very much. This is your boy, Nyan Yenifin. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.